Welcome to Hockey Inside Out. I'm your host, Adam Susser, coming to you from the beautiful Gazette studios in wintry downtown Montreal with Stu Cowan, Chris Nilan, and CBC Daybreak's Jessica Rusnak. Let's look at today's topics. Number 1, what does newly acquired defenseman Nikita Nesterov bring to the Canadiens? Number 2, should the Habs re-sign Nathan Beaulieu or trade him? Number 3, should Phillip Danault remain the number 1 center when Alex Galchenyuk returns? Number 4 is our viewer question of the week, which asks, is there any scenario where Mikhail Sergachev is packaged with other players in exchange for John Tavares? Not likely. Number 5, out of the 24 Montreal Canadiens on the greatest NHL players of all time list, who is the greatest Canadian of them all? Let's start the show. Last Thursday, the Habs acquired defenseman Nikita Nesterov from the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for defenseman Jonathan Racine, as well as a 2017 6th-round draft pick. Nesterov is a puck-moving defenseman who at times has been used as a forward in Tampa Bay when the team was thin due to injuries. He has 12 points in 35 games so far this season. That's what you'll read when you Google the man, but lucky for me, I have 3 experts sitting right next to me, so I'm just going to ask them, what are the Canadiens really getting with Nesterov joining the team?
Well, they're not getting a game changer, as Michel Therrien has said, and Marc Bergevin, that they're just looking for depth. And Bergevin, being a former defenseman, he always said you can't have enough defensemen on the team, especially at this point in the season when the playoffs are just around the corner. So the expectation is that he's going to be a guy that's going to come in and out of the lineup to play a strong game and just give that depth that the Canadiens are looking for.
It's another one of those trades Marc Bergevin makes where he gives up nothing. You give up a player who's never going to play in the NHL and a 6th-round pick in a draft year that's not considered a very good draft year. I think what he brings, what the new guy brings to the Canadiens is another puck-moving defense, and Michel Therrien always talks about how he wants to play with pace and speed and a fast game, and that's the style of game that he plays.
Canadiens got another Russian. There's nothing left to say. You both said it all, except for that. They got another Russian.
But it is interesting how the amount of Russians that they do have when there seems to be fewer Russians in the NHL today, and the Canadiens have a lot. And, they put Nesterov with Markov. They paired them together, which is sort of a comfortable thing. And Sergachev coming up. It's interesting.
Must have something to do with the Rouge part of Blue Ball.
Can you see it being a move for Bergevin maybe setting something up to trade Beaulieu and having a defenseman to take his place who's comparable?
I think there's something to that. I think Nathan Beaulieu, I'm almost certain that Marc Bergevin is going to be shopping him around. Becomes a restricted free agent after this season. I don't know if he's Michel Therrien's favorite player on the team, although he's been playing him a lot of minutes now, which might be a case of also showcasing him. So to get something, you got to give up something. Mm-hmm. And Nathan Beaulieu, I think, is an attractive player to a lot of other teams in the league.
Yeah, he is. And I think packaged with either a draft pick, a first rounder, something like that, you could get a pretty good forward in return. Now, I know they would much rather have a defenseman, a left-handed shooting defenseman. And I know they just get Nesterov, but he's not the answer. He's a depth guy, like you both said. And, Duchesne's name has been there. Tavares is not happening. They're not going to let him go. Duchesne, now that's a possibility. But what I would like to know is why would they let a guy like Duchesne go? I mean, when there's a really good player like that out there, why are they letting him go? That's what I'd like to know. Like Sagan in Boston. Mm-hmm. Why would you get rid of a player like that? There's obviously something happened in Boston that was detrimental to the team. So this guy's gone on, that's great, but I always wonder what's behind moving a guy like that.
Perhaps just because Colorado is now desperate that they've had that one really good year when Patrick Waugh took over as coach, and then since then they've struggled, that they have to do a big move in order to start the rebuild. Maybe perhaps that's the move. I've only interviewed Matt Duchesne a few times. He seems like a really nice guy, but I didn't really get to spend that much time to really be a good judge of character.
Maybe he's not a good analytics player, Chris.
Oh.
Maybe not. And maybe, just maybe, I know Patrick Waugh had an issue with him celebrating a goal when he had a milestone goal or something, and they were losing 7-1, and he scored the second goal and made it 7-2, and he was like, he won the Stanley Cup. So maybe that has something to do with it. Can those things change? Yeah, they can. With a good character group like the Canadiens have. I don't think they're going to let anybody run amok in the room anymore.
Jessica, Nathan Beaulieu's contract is ending at the end of the season. Do they trade him or do they re-sign him?
I would say if you can get something good back for him, go ahead and trade him. Use his name, as you were saying. He's probably someone that Marc Bergevin is trying to shop right now. If you can't get anything good for him, then you might as well re-sign him. He's a restricted free agent, so it's not like he can go out there and just sign with whoever. So he's in a good situation right now for the Canadiens to use him and see what they can get back for him.
Well, Bergevin set himself up too. Like Sergachev's coming up. He plays the same style of game as Nathan Beaulieu. So it allows him to, if he does move Beaulieu, he's got somebody to come in and step right into that spot.
Yeah, for sure. Sergachev is the future here. You don't want to even think of putting him in any deal. I hear people saying, trade Sergachev.
But how much is that people not being able to see Sergachev play on a daily basis?
How many 18-year-old defensemen can come and play in the NHL? And he did, and he didn't look out of place. So he's only going to get better.
Yeah, it's not really knowing the player. And as far as Beaulieu, I think the knock on him has been consistency. He looks great some nights, the other nights so-so. And here's a kid. I like Nathan because he'll drop the gloves. He's a team guy that way. He'll go in and stick up for his teammates. Not the biggest guy, but he'll certainly stick his nose in there. But he would be an attractive guy if you're trying to shore up those top two lines and maybe getting a player of that caliber that can help those top two lines.
Phillip Danault has really stepped up since Alex Galchenyuk's injury. He's been playing on all different lines, primarily the first line. When Galchenyuk returns, should they keep him as the first line center?
Yes, they should. They shouldn't put Galchenyuk back there. I wouldn't. I would try and make another line, whether it's Lehkonen and this one or that one, whoever you want. It's the coach's job. But I would want depth through the lineup, and I would leave Danault there. Thing is, Danault has success with these two. Pacioretty's going, Radulov is going. You don't break it up, and you put Galchenyuk back there. And there's another thing you have to look at. He's not that strong in his end. A lot of this offense is coming from good defense in their own zone. Danault can play in his own end of the ring. Galchenyuk can't. He's confused. He runs around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's great offensively. From the red line in, great. But red line back into your own zone, it's like Looney Tunes. So I'd rather keep Danault there and try and put him in somewhere else. And again, he's coming back from injury. Take your time with him. I
agree with you. I mean, I'd like to see if Lehkonen and Galchenyuk could create some chemistry with Byron. Then you have like two number one type lines. And after Max Pacioretty had his hat trick against the Sabres, he was praising Danault. Like, he couldn't say enough good things about Danault and talking about how he opened space for Radulov to get the puck. And Max was saying, he says, we all in this room know how good Phillip Danault is and what a good hockey player he is. And Max was saying, it's nice that now other people, the media, the fans, are starting to appreciate what a good player this kid is.
I think that if they did move Alex Galchenyuk to that spot, it might have some uneasiness in the locker room, because right now it's Phillip Danault's job to lose. That in hockey, there's the next guy up, or in sports in general when they get hurt. And because of all the chemistry that they've been able to create, that I think some people on the team might be a little bit upset that it's like, wait a second here, we've had all this success, he's been able to carry the workload, and now that Alex Galchenyuk's back, he's lost his job. So to me, that would just probably be something that the players wouldn't like to see as well.
And it allows you also to put Plekanec, drop him down to the third line. I mean, he's had a terrible offensive year, but he's still effective on faceoffs and a checking role, so it puts him in a more comfortable position also. So now you have your 1, 2, 3 centers. You have Torrey Mitchell at number 4. I think maybe you move David Dayon into the wing, and you're pretty well set up. Okay. At this point in the show, it's time for our viewer question of the week. This week's question comes to us from Jason Bamford, who also wins a signed copy of John Scott's new book, A Guy Like Me, and we have more books to give away for the next 2 weeks, so keep writing in with your questions. Jason wants to know, is packaging Mikhail Sergachev an option in trying to trade for New York Islanders star John Tavares? I don't think the Canadiens will trade Sergachev, and I don't think the New York Islanders will trade John Tavares. Not even John Tavares, Sergachev? No, John Tavares is the Islanders franchise, and he's said that he's sort of interested in staying there. Matt Duchene, Colorado, might be a possibility, but I don't think they're going to trade Sergachev. I think if they're going to trade, Canadiens are going to trade someone, it'll be Beaulieu. I think Sergachev is the next Beaulieu. I don't think you trade a first-round draft pick at defenseman who played in the NHL as an 18-year-old this year. I don't.
Well, we're just getting over the Ryan McDonough trade. You know, will Sergachev be the next one that we talk about? I don't think
they'll ever be over the Ryan McDonough trade.
No, he's not the next Beaulieu. He's the next Markov.
Well, that's a good point.
I wouldn't trade this kid. I keep him. I know what a premium Bergevin puts on defensemen. We know that he likes having depth at that position. Sergachev stays. Tavares stays in New York. He loves New York. He likes where he is, and they're going to throw a ton of money at him.
And I'm sure he's got a no-trade clause as well, so John Tavares would have to have a say in the trade, and if he wants to be staying in New York, I can't see him waiving that.
Yeah, and the thing with Sergachev that really impressed me too is not just how good he is on the ice. He's such a mature kid. It's hard to believe that he's 18 years old. You know, he learned English in 1 year. He's a kid that is going to be able to handle everything that comes with being a Montreal Canadien.
And that's one of the biggest things since Marc Bergevin took over as GM. I've always been so impressed at just how mature these players are compared to in the past, that he does a lot of research into what they're like off the ice as well, and if they'd be able to handle the pressure of playing in Montreal.
The NHL released its list of 100 greatest players of all time. 24 former Montreal Canadiens are on that list. Of the 24 Habs on the list, who is your number one pick?
Jean Beliveau.
Yeah. Without.
Okay, well,
no, I think without a doubt. I mean, it's, you know, I'm old enough. I saw Jean Beliveau play. I remember him playing, but it's not just what he was on the ice. It was everything he was off the ice. I mean, he was the perfect ambassador, not just for hockey, just for human beings. I mean, he was just such a gentleman, and the few times I was lucky enough to meet him in person, he was just so kind and sincere and just a really, really nice man.
I remember the first time I got to cover a Canadiens game was when I was working at Team 990, and Andy Bennett took me along to show me what it was like, and the first person we ran into was Jean Beliveau, and I just absolutely could not believe it, and he was so friendly. He's bonjour les filles, comment ça va? You know, like, he could have just walked right by. He's Jean Beliveau, you know, we're no one. And I've always been so impressed with that, but I have to say it's a tie for me between Jean Beliveau and Maurice Richard. That those two are probably even when it comes to it. But I did hear some people criticize that 24 Canadiens on that list. It was a little bit excessive, but
there's 25 Leafs.
But yeah, but that's what I mean. That it does, you know, the Canadiens were such a powerhouse for so long, and you can list easily, you know, right off the top of your head how many players are Hall of Famers. So I don't think that was excessive at all.
Yeah, Jean Beliveau is tops for me. I saw him when I played here, and I did a skate with him on a weekend, a Sunday, and we signed autographs, and we're out there together, and we signed autographs, and I saw his autograph, and I said, geez, Mr. Beliveau, you got an unbelievable signature. And he said to me, Chris, don't bother to write it if they can't read it. Exactly what he said to me, and I was like, okay, and in other words, clean up your autograph, Knuckles, and I did. And it's funny, I Lafleur, all of them, I look at all the autographs, and they're very well written. And I remember when I was young, I used to just scribble it because you have to sign 20 things, you know, instead of taking the time to write your name properly. And ever since I started to write my name properly.
A lot of the guys today put their number beside their signature because you can't read the signature.
Okay. Well, that is our show for this week. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank the panel for showing up to work, Stu, Chris, and Jessica. We'll be back next Thursday. As always, leave your comments in the comment section below. We want to know what you thought about our topics that we discussed today. If you haven't already, subscribe to us. Don't forget to hit the like button. My name's Adam Susser. No, that is not me in the new Burger King commercial. I'll see you next week, Habs fans.